Hi, everyone, and welcome to Transformative CX Talks. I am your host, Alex C. Well, we've brought together the biggest CX leaders from the world's most loved brands to talk about the changing landscape and future of customer experience. Today, we're exploring forward-looking CX trends that will be crucial for brands and consumers alike in the near future. Our first panelist has great expertise in Asian and Australian customer contact operations. I am delighted to bring you the CEO of Asia Pacific APAC region of COPC, Ian Aitchison. Our next panelist spent a few years in marketing consulting before starting her Club Med career in 2011 as a product manager in Paris. Soon after, she rapidly fell in love with the brand. Let us all welcome the VP for Marketing, Omnichannel North America and USA Sales at Club Med, Emily Ruhard. Our third panelist has been in the service industry for 15 years, primarily in the contact center management space. I am glad to have the Director for Worldwide Services and Support, Japan at APAC Adobe, Hisachi Tsuji. To complete our panel of speakers, we have a CX expert who has spent more than 15 years in ICT research and consulting. Thrilled to be joined by the Director and Head of the Asia Pacific Customer Experience Practice at Frost & Sullivan, Krishna Baija. It is an honor to have some of the world's best practitioners and strategists in CX. So let's get this started. Krishna, you and your team in Frost & Sullivan have a bird's eye view on how customer experience has been evolving in the recent years amid global phenomena. What can you share with us on how has the CX landscape changed in the last couple of years? What behaviors and expectations are shaping customer experience today?
Customer experience is becoming the primary factor impacting customer buying decisions and the critical differentiator when deciding a brand's success today and in the future. Research reveals that over 90% of customers will switch brands because of a bad experience. The ability to access and share information anytime, anywhere from any device empowers today's hyper-connected customers. As a result, they dictate the terms of their interactions and experiential journeys with brands and expect an open, iterative relationship for a personalized experience. However, the core value to drive customer satisfaction has not changed much. Our research shows that ease of resolution still matters most when it comes to customer satisfaction. However, this needs to happen with the immediacy on their preferred channel as their convenience. Whether it's a self-serve or agent-assisted mode in physical life, online, or in metaverse, CX has to take place in a safe and trusted environment. If a brand CX is truly effortless, customers may never actually need to contact a service agent. Pandemic has proven to be a catalyst for CX improvement, a positive new norm, and strong building block for the future. There was a significant spike in digital interactions. Beyond the early adopters, digital users and broader consumers got on board and interacted via digital channels for the very first time. In fact, 87% of consumers increased digital usage due to the pandemic. This means brands need to aggressively transform from a legacy telephone primed CX to a digital prime one. However, consumers also expect brands to balance digitally primed CX with human touch. No longer is just-in-time service enough. More and more customers are insisting that brands anticipate their every need. Competitive companies are responding very quickly. 85% of customers will share relevant information about themselves in exchange for proactive customer service. The notion of segment of one will be critical for CX future. In an experience economy, it is no surprise that customers expect a hyper-personalized experience from a brand. This offers brands opportunities to identify and act on micro moments, intervene with right actions at the right time, at the right place to stay relevant. In fact, the ability to deliver this will prove the brand's customer centricity. Thanks to the IoT and wearable revolutions, devices that consumers carry and interact with are increasingly capable of collecting data from them and the world they live in. Consumers expect brands to focus on delivering smart products that integrate well with their lives, gain valuable insights from shared data in designing a richer user journey, and deliver an elevated experience that is definitive, proactive, and productive. Notion of CX delivery is further pushed by the need to deliver an immersive experience. Virtual reality can even help brands offer experiences in the metaverse that they couldn't offer in the real world. A digital test run, trying out different options, interacting with a support team or an expert advisor, and many more new possibilities will become a reality. So much needs to be done to live up to customers' expectation. In our survey, brands highlighted securing budgets, cost, legacy systems, inflexibility, technology complexities, and skill shortage as the key reason inhibiting them from delivering. Brands shouldn't be shy about seeking help from external partners in their pursuit of balancing CX excellence and cost. In fact, 70% of business turned to an outsourcing partners for cost reduction during the pandemic. With changing market dynamics and looming economic uncertainties, leading brands are increasingly considering outsourced CX services as their competitive strategy. Capable service providers offer the right balance in technology, process, and talent organizations need to achieve successful CX transformation. They also enable business continuity, boost operational efficiency, accelerate innovation, increase responsiveness, expedite time to market, and reduce business risk. In GIST, partnering with a trusted advisor empowers organizations to deliver on the CX of the future.
Thank you, Krishna. These are compelling trends you shared with us, which set the stage for our discussion today with our panel of CX experts. Companies had to build upon the CX journey map of its customers so they can respond to their customers who had to abruptly embrace of what remained of its support channels. Some succeeded, and as you know, to this day, while some continue to struggle. So what pain points have been uncovered in the customer journey in the last couple of years? Now, we would love to hear your thoughts. I think this goes to Emily and Hisachi, but Emily, I'll start with you.
Well, I think that for everyone, the pandemic context has brought its share of learnings and uncovered a lot of interesting pain points. And I'll mention one of them being in the travel and hospitality business, which I'm sure you heard about being a very hard hit sector during the pandemic. So we really learned the hard way. And one of our biggest pain point that was really something we saw as accelerating is the complexity of the travel context, the complexity of the landscape. The restrictions were changing every day. There was a lot of uncertainty, triggering customers wanting more flexibility to adjust their travel plans, to cancel anytime, anywhere, and springboarding on what was said earlier in terms of the immediacy and the need of a very real-time expectation of our customers. So I think that really accelerated that point, that necessity to be fully responsive in real time. Also, moving forward, something that we've realized as well is the increased complexity of choice. There's today so many options for transportation, new platforms, new hotel brands, which are launching every day. So who hasn't realized it when you're planning your next vacation? It really becomes almost overwhelming for customers exposed to so many different products and messaging. So definitely the complexification of the landscape and increased choice is still a strong aspect and a pain point to deal with today.
Thank you so much, Emily. I'll turn it over now to Hisachi. Hisachi, I'd like to hear your answer to the same question.
For our business, especially we have different journey for B2B customers and B2C customer. And especially in our industry, SaaS industry, we had a significant surge of the digital documentation as well as digital signature businesses. And it's actually not a pain point, actually. It's a very goodness for our company. At the same time, in terms of pain point, customer has been discovering many issues regards to the licensing or security, document security, protection security, as well as copyright issues. So we needed to shift those contact drivers as a key driver. We need to create many contents regards to those top drivers for B2B customers. While B2C world, we've been having different type of trends, especially because of the surge of the YouTubers or TikTokers, we actually needed to guide many brand new beginners to how to use those contents before especially my company's cases. Adobe has been used for the many professionals. Now everybody is started using those tools, and this is same trend. We had the significant shift in the contact driver. So to mitigate that situation, we have initiated digitalization of the support channel, more contents created, more contents refined and optimized, as well as the leveraging community forums. And we have created lots of video contents to deflect the customer or guiding customer to the right friendly channel. So from that effort, we could make we have been having a 20% annual increase in the business revenue. At the same time, we could maintain the same number of headcount globally for the customer service support by leveraging digital channel. And we realized that actually it was a kind of undiscovered the great channel, and the pandemic boosted us to really leverage this digital channel sources.
I 100% agree with the both of you, Emily and Hisashi. I am also one of those who recently started using Adobe and trying to familiarize myself with that. But again, one of the opening points brought up by Krishna is on the CX imperative, which directly impacts buying decisions. Now, with as much as 90% of customers willing to switch brands because of a bad experience, I mean, that's a powerful figure to contend with. So Ian, I want to know, what are your thoughts on brand loyalty and customer retention today?
Well, it's not even just that customers are willing to switch brands because of a bad experience. It's also interesting to know that customers, certainly the majority of customers, are willing to say that they'll pay a little more for their product or service if they know that they'll receive a world-class customer service as a result of paying more. So customers do value a good customer experience. But thinking about how the customer experience impacts loyalty, you've got to think about what goes into the customer experience. So there is the product itself, the brand perception, the price, and the interaction experience. Now, product still has the biggest impact on loyalty, but it's closely followed by the interaction experience, with brand perception and price being much lower down. So it is important to focus on the interaction experience. And we looked into some of the things that actually impact metrics such as the Net Promoter Score, customer satisfaction, customer effort score. And if we take the Net Promoter Score as a proxy for loyalty, we knew that customers who interacted, let's say it was a phone channel, customers who interacted by phone and their issue was resolved, their Net Promoter Score would go up compared to customers who had no contact at all with that organization. But if they had to contact the company and their issue was not resolved, that drove Net Promoter Score down a lot. So the first thing that we learned was, look, interaction experience is really important. The interaction experience can drive positive behaviors or negative behaviors. And then when we looked even deeper, you could see that if the issue was resolved in the first contact, the Net Promoter Score was much higher. And for each number of contacts a customer had to make, the Net Promoter Score dropped. And actually, even if you resolved the issue, but it took 3 contacts, that drove a negative Net Promoter Score. So what the data was telling us was, if you want to drive positive experiences or positive loyalty through the Net Promoter Score, you've got to focus on understanding why customers are contacting you and work out how to resolve those issues as soon as possible, like at the beginning of the journey as possible.
100% agree with you, Ian. I love how you shifted the focus from focusing on the worst case scenario of losing loyalty and rather focusing on trying to sustain that loyalty and interacting with these customers. Now, there are industries, though, that manage to hurdle through these unpredictable events. But for companies staying afloat in these volatile times, What do you think are the key characteristics? I mean, can you share what some of these characteristics are? I would like to direct this question to Krishna and Emily, but Krishna, we'll start with you first.
Thanks, Alex. Great question. As we are in the process of putting the pandemic behind us, now is a good time to look back and judge how deep this crisis cut and what could have been handled better, right? Outsourcing service providers, their clients and brands with in-house shared service centers, they have kind of leveraged a range of strategies to keep their business afloat while putting their employees' safety at the center of their efforts. So I think this is commendable. But what I believe, companies who have embraced digital thinking, technology, process realignment, and automation across their organizations, customer experience delivery fared better in their effort to minimize adverse impact. So organizations that already adopted a machine-first culture gave them the ability to bring artificial intelligence, automation into large portion of their mission-critical functions. Transformation during the crisis was much easier for such companies due to their preparedness they had made earlier. The pandemic held a mirror to organizations' digital capabilities. For leaders, automations and digitizations were a springboard to gain market share. For organizations with low digital maturity, they were more about plugging the gaps in order to survive. So organizations with an advanced CX strategy were almost twice as agile as those still developing their plans.
Thank you, Krishna. Same question to you, Emily.
Sure. I completely resonate with what Krishna just shared, but I will also add one very important point to me and to us as a company is the human aspect to weather the volatile times and the pandemic. First of all, are we keeping our talents? Are we investing in their growth opportunities? Are we keeping the culture alive? That was very important for us, for travel and hospitality brands. It means keeping the connection with the brand and the product, which constitute the why, and the reason why our employees are waking up in the morning and happy to work for a brand, because they could not travel anymore. They couldn't go to the destination, so they couldn't connect with the product anymore. So it was really important to keep that connection alive. But just to springboard also on the necessity for companies to evolve and to have a very agile mindset. I think that those who have been really able to make a difference after the pandemic are the ones who have been able to think out of the box. So I completely agree with the transformation, the digital transformation, but it's also a question of shifting your angles. And I'm going to give you an example, which is more on the marketing and communication standpoint, but it's been very fascinating for us to explore in our competitive landscape what the cruise ships were doing, what the cruise company were doing. If you look at their communication before the pandemic, they were all about their onboard features, their splash parks, their casino, what's happening on board. And now if you look at their communication, it's all about the destinations themselves, the outdoors, beautiful pictures of the Bahamas. So they completely changed how they are presenting their products. So I think that companies which have really been able to make the difference in the post-pandemic world are the ones which were really bold in how they shift their operations, but also how they shift their brand angles as well.
Love what both of you have said. Very, very insightful. Connection, digital transformation are really the key characteristics this past few years. Now, agility and resilience being present also in an organization's DNA undoubtedly also played a key role in its survival. And I'm eager to understand, is this enough though? Is it enough? And Hisachi and Krishna, do you think that companies today are better prepared for another unprecedented event? Hisachi, we'll head to you first.
Sure, thank you. In fact, this is maybe that difficult question to answer. I would say, is our companies ready for the next event? In my country, newspaper always tells that every 10 years, we have once a 100-year type of big event happening recently, maybe recent past 3 or 4 decades. Continuously, we are facing such challenges. So answering the question, are we ready? Yes and no, but only the flexible company to apply the concept of failing fast and learn from it. type of companies survive, I would say. And the more and more change management is required. And another perspective I would add is these challenging events which impact directly to the people or community. I think a brand and company will be asked that, are you for us, or are you selfish for business? Or are you supportive? Is your brand safe and support me or support our community? These are the questions we constantly ask during the pandemic, and also probably same thing happen to the next events comes. So social responsibility is another kind of big theme for the company which survive. Speaking of a bit about Adobe, what we did is actually we tried to support students who has been struggling in a study. So we actually released our licenses for many students to use and unleash their creativity during this difficult time. This is one of the example, but I hope that many companies realize those kind of social responsibility during the events, so that we can support each other, support community together for the business success. Hope it makes sense, Alex.
It does. It really does. Thank you so much, Hisashi. I love that you focus on the customer and supporting the customer, not only the customer, but other organizations as well. We're going to head to Krishna. Krishna, same question to you as well.
I totally agree with what Hisashi-san was mentioning in terms of change management. But first of all, I just hope that we don't ever come across another event like this. But I firmly believe that we can take forward some insights that we had, in the recent past. So while business were trying their absolute best to transform themselves, they also had an arduous task of managing customer experience, employee experience, security, and cost. And in this respect, few themes which come across for me would be as follows. So do more with less. So IT organizations, they are kind of challenged to deliver business value beyond just maintaining business continuity while faced with that increasing budget constraints. So that's a huge learning one can take. Transformation for the future. So once the organizations gained a foothold on the disruptions, crucial was to innovate to achieve competitive advantage. Then organizations, they really had to think about digital first. The envelope has been pushed faster than any other time. Pivoting to digital has been a lifeline for many businesses, especially for many SMBs as well. Now, we must keep this in mind, what Hisashi-san was also mentioning, that agility, the change management, that really needs to be at the core. Disaster recovery plan is essential, and being an agile organization enables swift organizational changes to meet customers' urgent needs. We also must keep in mind that future is going to be hybrid. A new way of working, delivering services, as well as the way this to be delivered. So underlining the enabling technology platform, everything is going to be hybrid. And we really need to keep that in mind and adopt. And last but not least, what I would think is recognizing the possibilities. Now, with this, during the pandemic, what we realized is organizations are on their self-discovery journey, and more of them are realizing that they have achieved something which they never thought was possible. I think that's the mindset changes or the shift which has happened. That could be a very effective tool for anything happens in the near future.
Thank you, Krishna. So it's really doing more for less, maximizing what you're working with. Thank you. Well, we are learning how a forward-looking and dynamic CX strategy equates to optimal customer satisfaction. Now, is this where corporate priorities are leading towards? And when it comes to CX, what is top of mind for CEOs in 2022 and beyond? So I'd like to know your thoughts again, Krishna, on this.
Sure. Let me just take advantage of our recent survey, which kind of highlighted that employee enablement, which includes things like technical and skills training, then the employee enhancement, which related to knowledge management or the navigating tools for the agents. Those two as the top two factors among the top three in the chosen areas of what short-term or the mid-term the CX professionals of thinking, or the organizations who are really making decisions in terms of future. So it's not surprising that other ones highlighted those which may not necessarily be in the top 2, but in the top 5, focused on customers. Then we are talking about things like service personalizations, proactive CX, and we are talking about tools to deliver those experiences, the likes the analytics, the data management, the visualizations, and of course, artificial intelligence and machine learning. So in a nutshell, if you're just looking from the priority perspective in the near and the midterm, we are talking about tremendous focus on employee, then focus on customers, and then enabling technologies in and around that. I think that's what is going to create the future for the organizations, and they're likely to deliver for their customers in the near future.
I love that your answer was focused on the people, which will really bring us forward this 2022 and beyond. And as we wrap this talk, we'd like to hear from each of the CX experts. What components should CX strategies have to remain relevant? We'll start with you, Ian.
Well, from an interaction experience point of view, I think organizations have to understand what customers are trying to do when they contact them and what channels they want to use. I think that organizations have to understand the benefits, but also the limitations of digital and self-service and not force that upon customers. When looking at the channel mix, they need to develop approaches to stop forcing customers to have to switch between channels, because that drives dissatisfaction. They need to work out how to resolve customer issues as close to the start of their service journey as possible. And finally, they need to be able to leverage the sugar rush or the surge in loyalty that customers have after a positive interaction experience.
Love that, Ian. Thank you. Very sensible course of actions. Emily, we'll give the same question to you. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that as well.
Sure. I think Ian gave already a good overview, but what I may add maybe in the key ingredients is the necessity to have some personalization strategies. So it means also that you have to develop the relevant content. So it makes also a big challenge around it. And you also have to have the right teams to operate it. But really, for me, the key word is personalization. The one-size-fits-all doesn't work anymore. And this is really top of mind in every organization that wants to make a difference.
Absolutely, I agree. It's the essence of service, actually. We'll head now to Hisashi.
I may go to the 2 directions. One is technology side and constantly revisiting the recent technology and just try to be out of box approach to use technology. Some tools is continue developing, and then we can definitely leverage those technology into our service delivery. In the other side is actually emphasis in employee engagement, so that the kind of building up more empathy in human to human interaction. So you can use both technology side and also human empathy to enhance our CX capabilities.
So striking a balance. Yeah, I get that, Hisashi. And last but not least, Krishna, same question.
Totally, I was thinking on a very similar manner. There's 2 aspects, the technology and the human bit. Now, if you're just looking at the maturity of technology megatrends such as the cloud, digitization, and automation, that kind of coincided with the accelerated adoption of these technologies during the pandemic, right? So CX organizations, they are kind of bringing these technologies together to enable a flexible, data-rich, and digitally led operating model. We are adding capabilities that enhance customer choices and personalization as part of their CX strategy. I think that's pretty much on the technology side of things, which kind of bringing the personalization, the human aspect. Now, we really need to keep in mind that the human touch is the most essential element for superior customer experience. In fact, the focus will be on making the digital experiences more human. At the same time, I would also like to say that we must not forget that CX transformation is a journey. It's not we just gone there and we can stop and can enjoy the laurels. We really need to keep moving and really need to be forward-looking and keep adapting to that need, which is, again, keep on evolving very quickly.
Thank you so much. What I got from this is understanding the customer, knowing also their limitations, personalization as well, the right balance between technology and people, and of course, always looking forward. So thank you. The CX landscape continues to shift as it responds to the changing behaviors, expectations, and needs of customers. Organizations that transform with the times while keeping its customers and employees top of mind have greater prospects of delivering the CX of the future. Thank you for joining the first plenary session of Transformative CX Talks, and thanks to our guest speakers for their interesting insights about the trends in CX. We have more talks from other illustrious CX leaders, so please join us for our second plenary session where we talk about future CX talent strategies. This is Alex C.